All right. Welcome everybody to another episode of Hot Seat Automotive Podcast. Your buddy CJ here. We're talking about all things automotive industry, gearhead stuff, cars, the automotive hobby. This is the place to be for all the real talk on car guy stuff. Real talk for car guy stuff right here. So let's get into this. Folks, we're going to have a fun episode tonight. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave me comments. I'll respond to all those comments that I can. I promise. I'll get to them. Your buddy CJ, I'll get to him. Guys, tonight, what are we talking about? We're going to get into this. What's wrong with McLaren? What's good with McLaren? Let's talk about it. Guys, we're talking about McLaren, a supercar company making some incredible supercars. Look at this thing. McLaren Artura. Are you kidding me? This thing is beautiful. The brand new McLaren Artura. What we're looking at here is a hybrid, twin turbo V6. They're no longer doing the twin turbo V8s. Includes battery power. Now let me tell you something about this car. And to me, this is such a McLaren moment. This is the most McLaren thing I've ever heard in my life. And it's a true story because I lived it. So your buddy CJ always going to give it to you straight. Big facts. I test drove a McLaren Artura. I went to the launch event. I was invited and I was extremely grateful to test drive one of the early production cars. Now this is a big moment for McLaren. McLaren's banking a lot on this car. You know, in terms of the future of McLaren and what this platform means, this hybrid platform. Thing's got a V6 out back. It's got the battery drive, integrated high-tech drive system. Incredible car, technology marvel. This car is a technology marvel, okay? It's a big deal for McLaren. I got in for this test drive, and we're going down the road, and the infotainment goes black. True story. Infotainment goes out. Okay? Car kept running. I love the car. Let me be the first to say, I'm a fan of McLaren and I like the Artura. Okay? It's got a lot of styling cues that are carried over from the 570 series, which I like. I had a 570. Love that car. Cool car. This is a cool car. Big performance. Big performance car. Look at that thing. Supercar life, baby. That is a beautiful car. But I'm driving this thing and the infotainment goes black. Shuts off. The guy sitting next to me, because they got to go with you, they're pre-production cars. He laughed. He said, yeah, it's happening a lot on these. They're still working the bugs out. Now, a couple things. I'm not here to bash McLaren. I'm a McLaren fan. I hope, and I've heard, they've worked a lot of the bugs out. But real talk, that is a McLaren moment. McLarens are great, but they have gremlins. Let's be real. So I'm going to take you back, and that's the Artura, and I think the Artura is cool. I hope they do well. I don't know where the sales are at right now. But let's take a look at a couple things. Where does McLaren, in all seriousness, get this reputation, dare I say the negative aspects of their reputation? I think you got to go back to this guy. Who remembers this thing? It's the MP4 12C, commonly referred to as the 12C. This was an incredible car when it came out. This was a technology marvel. This is about as fast as any human being should be allowed to go on four wheels. The MP4 12C was just forget about it when it came out, right? But you talk about gremlins, and I never owned one of these, but I know enough to know that a lot of these cars had problems. And I don't know if it was rushed to market. I don't know if they just had major inherent manufacturing challenges with the first gen of their mass production supercar. Maybe all of the above, but they had issues. And I think there's a hangover in the industry. There's a hangover in a reputation that started with the MP4 12C. Let me be blunt though, and let me be honest. This is a fantastic car. I want one. If the right one came along, I'd buy it. Okay, I think these are incredible cars. I don't hate on them. Okay, having said that, I think anyone who's in the market for one of these, or if you know someone who's had one, they've probably had some issues. And I understand the later cars did a bit better. But I think you got to go back to the MP412C. The reputation, the hangover, what's that old saying? You never get a second chance to make a first impression. And I think McLaren left an impression on people that they were buggy and they had issues. Incredibly fast, high performance, beautiful cars. Look at the styling. Okay? But they had issues. And I think that is sort of the story on McLaren. Anyone who drives a McLaren and you compare it to other cars, I got to say, my view of the McLaren, I'll tell you what I think. That twin turbo V8 sound and effect is infectious. I always say it's like an F-16 taking off. And I've never flown an F-16. But in all seriousness, it's so fighter jet. Like, you hear those turbos spooling up. And my experience with the McLarens is that they're the ones I've driven, there is a turbo lag dynamic with some of them. And that's okay with me because it's such a kick in the pants. When those things, those they're smaller displacement V8 engines, the ones I've driven, but with the twin turbo, the Artura obviously a V6. I've driven those. But the twin turbo V8s, when those turbos spool up, man, it's a different sound. I do not think these sound as good as Lamborghinis. I do not think they sound as good as Ferraris, but I do think they sound better than Porsches. And I love Porsches. We'll have another episode on that. This is real talk. This is supercar experience. This is supercar experience. Driving a McLaren is like nothing else. I think they have the cockpit. You feel like you're in a cockpit in a McLaren. No joke. And you got, what do they call them? The scissor doors or the butterfly doors. I don't know if they're technically considered butterfly. Some people call them billionaire doors. But the doors that go up, are you kidding me? What's cooler than that? But let's take a look at this one. Let's take a look at this one as we continue the discussion here tonight. I hope you guys are enjoying this. But look at this one. There's a beauty. Are you kidding me? The 720S, now they got the 750 coming out. I don't know if they've hit the streets yet. I believe it's a very similar platform, maybe an evolution of the 720S. These are incredible cars. They are ridiculously fast. You know, the styling, you either love the headlights or you don't. I like the way this is one of those cars that I love in convertible. 720S in convertible, that's the one I want. I would buy this in a convertible. I would not buy most Lamborghinis in a convertible. In a Spider, I would not buy most Ferraris in a convertible. Porsche, there are certain Porsches I like in a convertible, but I love the 720S in a convertible. I think I have friends that have them. They are just incredible cars. And everyone I know who has a 720S loves it. However, I've heard of people who have these nightmare stories. McLarens have gremlins. And I'll go a step further tonight. Let's get controversial. English cars have gremlins. English cars have gremlins. They always have. And of course, certain Italian cars do and others. But we're talking McLaren tonight. Incredible performance, legit supercar experience, like nothing else, ridiculously fast, but they got gremlins. So the only downside I have, there's two things really. McLaren as a going concern, profitability, stability of the company. I don't know all of the fiscal aspects, but I know that, listen, they're banking a lot on this new platform, and I hope they do well. I just think they're incredible cars. Now, let's take a look at this one. You guys ready? I'm ready if you're ready. Let's take a look at this one together. Let's take a look at this one together, because this, to me, was a fantastic platform and an incredible car, the 570. I'd still go out and buy another 570. I love these cars. I love the styling. Look at those wheels. Those are the right wheels for the 570. I like the 570 in the Spider. Look at the interior. They had some incredible color combinations on these cars. The Bespoke, the what do they call it? MSO, where you get the unique factory specs, body color, interior, all kinds of wild things. They had purples, blacks with, wild interiors just offset. This car, look at the way that pops. Ridiculously fast. And the 570, I think, is just a great platform. It's comfortable. You literally feel like you're in a cockpit. But what? And I'll tell you, real talk. I owned a 570. Infotainment weirdness. Gremlins with the door poppers. You know, the battery. If you left your doors up for, let's say, 10 or 15 minutes and the car's parked, my battery would go down to like 18%. Uh-oh, my battery's going dead. As soon as I started up and ran it for 5 minutes, it'd go up to like 80 to 90%. And I talked to a technician. They say, oh, that's normal. That's how they are. So again, and I'm not talking about leaving the power on in the car or the headlights on overnight. I'm talking about key off, accessories off, but doors open. These cars have electrical draws. You don't want your battery going flat in a McLaren. You don't want a dead battery in a McLaren, okay? And there's all kinds of electrical gremlins and weirdness. Finding the key. The thing, you get in it and it doesn't want to recognize the key. Okay, weird things like that. I got to tell this story. I got to be real, McLaren. You know I love you. Shout out to the McLaren boys out there. Shout out to McLaren. Incredible cars. I will have another McLaren. But I'll tell you what. You close your doors. You park the car and close your doors. The windows would go down an inch and a half. Inch and a half. I hit the lock button. The windows would go up again. Like, what's happening? Is my car possessed? It did weird stuff. Now, the upside is that I love driving that car. Hell, somebody show up in my driveway with a McLaren and give me the keys, I'm going to drive it. I'm going to love on your car. I love these cars. But they do weird things. And you hear about the guys who own them and they're with the dealership and they're in and out of the dealership and they end up selling them because they just get sick and tired of dealing with the gremlins and it's too much. Then you have other guys who have rock solid experiences. Not as many. A lot of people are afraid of this brand. I can't say I'm afraid of it. I just think you own a car like this, you got to be ready for what's to come. It's not who dailies a McLaren anyway. Some people probably do, but you can't have the expectation of consistency and reliability. Like, you're going to deal with some stuff. You might get a really good one, but you might deal with some issues. That's just the realities of McLaren ownership. But I love McLarens. I think they're incredible cars. I'm pulling for them. McLaren, I'm pulling for you. I want the Artura to be successful as, a big part of the future of this company. I want the 750S to do well, okay? And I want them to just kill it going forward. And I think they're a supercar company, supercar experience. A lot of them are attainable because they've depreciated. But keep in mind, folks, before you buy one, they've depreciated for a reason. So just go in eyes wide open. But anyway, that's what I think. Wanted to go on live here tonight and talk to you all about all things McLaren. Hot Seat Automotive Podcast. Let me know what you think. It's your buddy CJ. Like and subscribe. Leave me some comments. I promise I'll answer all those comments I can. You know I love you guys. Can't wait to see you on the next one. Hit me up, and I'm out of here till I see you on the next one. Love you guys. Peace.